I'm Suhani. I'm based out of Bangalore and I manage the UiPath community for all of you. We do a lot of such sessions, most weekly, monthly, and we're quite active with our virtual sessions. Today, we've gathered here to understand the basics of agentic automation, and Deepika and Madhuri are going to be the speakers today. Umesh is our Jaipur chapter leader here, so everybody joining here from Jaipur, feel free to connect with him. He's the best person to network with in case you belong from Jaipur and you want to grow active in this community. Um, the entire session today is going to be recorded end to end, so it's okay if you're not being able to pay attention completely. You will be given the recording link to you post this session. Um, as the audience, I know you all are not being able to unmute or open the camera. That is for the session to go smoothly. So, if you all have some queries or doubts during the session takes place, feel free to again put it on chat, and the speakers would answer it there real time. However, towards the end, we'll have a short 10-minute Q&A section where you can unmute. So, towards the end, if you want to interact with the speaker and unmute, just raise your hand to ask your question, and we'll give you the access for the mic so that you can speak. Today is going to be about agentic automation, but this is just session one. So we have two more sessions which are related to the session which is happening today. So once you know what agentic automation is, what RPA and AI agents look together, tomorrow you will get to know how to build an agent on yourself. And the day following it would be around some real world agents using UiPath. I will put in the chat again the link of all the three sessions, including today's, and the recording would also be available on the same event page 2 days after the event gets over. So make sure you're aligned to that and you all are able to take the max value out of the session. With that, I will hand it over to Deepika and she can take it forward from here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Suhani, for the introduction. And today we are going to get into the basics of agentic automation. So, thank you everyone for joining. And I'm Deepika. I work at Worldline Global Services, and I've been building robots with our UiPath and Power Automate for the past 2 years. And it's time to get into agentic automation, and that's why I'm here to give you the taste of how what agentic automation is actually. And with me, I have Madhuri. Uh, Madhuri, can you tell about yourself, please? Okay, I think she's facing some issues. Let's get to the.
Madhuri, maybe you can rejoin if you're facing some issue. I think we can come back to her, Deepika. You can continue.
So I'll share my screen now.
Hey, am I audible now, Suhani?
Yes,
Yes,
Madhuri.
yes, you are.
Yes. So
Okay. Um I'm Madhuri. I'm working as a junior consultant at Wonderbots. I have some 2 years of experience nearly. And this is my first community session as a speaker. And I'm very excited about it. But also a big thank you to Suhani and the UiPath community for giving this opportunity. Now, Deepika will go ahead and pick up the session.
Yes, so before we dive in, can you guys put in the chat? Has I think everyone has experience with building robots with UiPath. Am I right? Can you put on a yes over the chat? So yes, so I think pretty much everyone will be aware with UiPath. So now we are moving into the next stage of automation, which is agentic AI. To There is a quick way to think about this. Simple analogy: a traditional RPA robot is like a GPS with only one road programmed in. So if a road gets blocked, it doesn't know what to do. But an agent is more like a driver. So if there is a road block, it knows how to get out of it and reach the destination. And that's how we are covering today in agentic automation. By the end of this session, you won't just understand what the difference conceptually, you'll know exactly what each type of agent looks like on the UiPath platform and where to start building yourself. Next slide, please. So in this session, we are going to build up the basics step by step. I promise by in the end of the session, you will be able to answer three questions confidently. Number one, what is agentic automation? And number two, how it is different from RTA we already use. And the last, what are the different type of agents you can build on UiPath? Let's start with the big question. What is agentic automation really? So the simplest way to say it is that agentic automation is the next step from regular automation. Instead of robot that follows one fixed script from start to finish, we now have AI agents. These are built on large language models, the same technology behind tools like ChatGPT. So it can understand a goal, not just a set of steps. It can figure out on their own what needs to happen to reach the goal, and it carries out that with very little handholding. An everyday example I would like to share here is: imagine you ask a new employee, asking them that please make sure this invoice is correct and get it approved. Now, we don't hand them a 20-step checklist on how to trust them and figure out what checking and approving looks like. We just make them figure it themselves, and that's what an agent actually does. You give the goal and not the steps. So this slide shows the three stages how an agent works, and this is really the engine how an agent works. Almost every agent runs through this cycle over and over. Number one is where the agent reads the situation. So the data could be messy, like an email or a PDF or a chat message, and it works out what's actually going on. For example, an agent looks at an incoming customer email and understands this is a refund request and they have attached in script. And the next step will be planning and design. So now to understand the situation, it has to work on the steps that needs to reach the goal. So the example what we talked for the first stage, which is the agent receives the mail and it understands it is a refund request. The second step is where it plans and decides. So it will be checking whether the receipt is valid and whether it will check whether the return window hasn't expired. And then it submits the refund request. This is what happens in the stage two. And in stage three, it acts and improves. It further proceeds the request. It carries out the work with the help of other tools. So it submits a refund. What if the human corrects something later? The agent remembers that for the next time. Let's take one more example from the HR department. Let's say an employee email asking that, can I carry over my unused leaves to the next year? So number one, it has to perceive the request from the user. So it will pull up the employee details and it will pull up the company policy details and it will check with one another. So that is where the planning comes and it checks the carryover limits and employees tenure, checking out whether there is an exception process as well. And the third step, it acts or improves. So either it approves the employee request or it escalates it to the HR. So this is the three-step engine. A nice line that sums up is that agents think, robots do, and people lead. Robots are still incredibly value for repetitive rule-based work. Agents are reasoning on top of that, and people stay in charge, setting the direction and stepping in when it matters. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, a fun way to think about agentic and robotic is this simple analogy: the left brain and the right brain. So, the left brain is the traditional classic RPA, which is predominant so far, and the right brain is on the rising and which is the agentic side. So the left brain thinks of is structured, logical, it's totally efficiency oriented and systematic. It will be doing the same exact steps every time over 1,000 cycles without zero fatigue. So a traditional RPA robot is the left brain. And there is this right brain where it is very creative, intuitive. It can handle ambiguity. It can make decisions upon context. So that's what agentic is. Agents are goal based. They can act independently and make dynamic decisions when the situation is in black and white. I can put an example here. So if the invoice doesn't match our usual format, the traditional RPA will throw an exception or send us an email and gets to the next invoice. But here on the right brain, when the agent does it, it will think whether should I process it, flag it, or ask for clarification. So this was the difference between the left brain and the right brain. The right brain agent looks at the. Let me give you another example here. Let's picture a mailbox. So the robot will be the RPA robot will be going through the emails and will be checking the zip codes on the envelope and takes record of it. So when there is a smudged zip code or if it is missing, the robot will just simply say the zip code is missing and it will move on to the next email. Wherein the agent will check if it is missing, it will check the seller and it will map it with the vendor database and get the zip code from there. So this is how the agent works without any human intervention. So the two tasks are different, are totally done different by the robotic side and the agentic side. So can you think about any repetitive task in your team? Because most of us will be following the left brain setup and we are just getting started into the agentic setup. Next slide, please. Yes, so this spectrum is very important since we are transitioning from the classic RPA to the agentic AI. You can see there are three stages here. The first one is 80% human and 20% agent. So here, 80% of the 80% of the efforts are done by the humans and 20% of the efforts are done by the agents. Humans are doing the most of the work and agents will be assisting with small pieces. And the next stage of the spectrum is where humans put in 20% of the effort and agents put in 80% of the effort. So agents will be doing the most of the heavy lifting and humans will be intervening wherever escalation or exceptions are required. And the final stage is where the vision is, which is 100% agent. The agent runs whole process end to end autonomously. So we don't have to jump straight away 100% into agent automation because most organizations start on the left side of the spectrum using agent as an helpful assistant and they gradually move on to the 100%. Next slide, please. Yes. So this is the context where most people get confused on what is agentic AI and what is agentic automation. Let's clearly talk about it here. Agentic AI is the brain. Agentic automation is the body. Or we can better think of it as the human skeleton and the nervous system. So agentic AI, the brain, tells what it has to do. And agentic automation does all those stuffs with the help of guardrails, governance, and security. So agentic AI runs with agents powered by large language models, powered by machine learning, traditional enterprise automation working together. These agents operate in dynamic, unpredictable environments. Unlike a rule-based robot, this follows exactly fixed logic, but an agent uses a probabilistic approach, meaning it reasons about the most likely right action, plans, acts, learns, adapts as it goes. So agentic AI is the brain and it works through a probabilistic approach. Where in agentic automation, it lets the brain to do the safe usual work in real company enterprise setup. So it is the orchestration of agents, robots, and humans all working together in one unified system. To put it in UiPath platform, every agent, no matter what type, runs with built-in guardrails, governance, and security. You will learn more about these jargons what we spoke now in the later part of the session, so don't worry. So these run in the UiPath platform in a tool called Maestro, and Maestro helps us to orchestrate the agentic automation. So it is enterprise ready from day one. To give a one-line summary to differentiate between agentic AI and agentic automation, agentic AI gives the ability to think, but agentic automation is what makes the thinking safe, governed, and is useful at enterprise scale. I repeat once again, the agentic AI is the brain here, and the agentic automation is the nervous system and skeleton which helps the brain to think safely and work safely. Next slide, please. Yes. So, what really is an agent? This is the whole point of the session today. So, an agent is an AI-powered entity. It should follow instructions. It can use tools. It can run automations, or it can make decisions, all based on goals which are defined in plain human language or natural language, and not code. And not code. So, an agent interacts with the environment, collects information, analyzes data, and figure out what it really needs for the task to get completed and to achieve the end goal. So this means that the agents can automate complex tasks that can genuinely require large language understanding and judgment calls, things that used to require a human. So not every agent, no matter how it is built, there are five key principles. We can say these as the DNA of the agent, of a good agent. So the five key principles are planning, tools, context, adaptability, reflection, and memory. So to connect with the previous slide we saw before, it perceives, it plans, and it acts. So these three contextually are connected with these five key principles. So planning is where it understands the goal, it plans the necessary actions it needs to achieve. Number two is tools. So think of what tools I should use to get this job done. What tools I should use to connect with any other third party applications to get this job done. And number three is context, where we given the context of the problem or use case or the solution. So the AI does not hallucinate, and it keeps its knowledge grounded and gives the solution in the best way possible. Number four is adaptability, where it perceives and processes information from its environment, so it stays interactive and aware of what actually happens around it, and it does not work only based on. Number five is reflection and memory. So it has to remember the past interactions and the behavior, so it gets better over time. To simply put this into an example, planning is uh, where our use cases to resolve the customer complaint. So the agent plans. The steps will be we have to check the order history, and I have to check the refund policy, and I have to draft a response. So this is the plan. The agent does it. That does high level. So in number two tools, it should think about what tools I have to use to check these to check the order history and to check the refund policy. So it will be using third-party tools or connectors to get the data from there. And number three is context. So context is where we put a real company data and check the real data from the system, so that it does not make something up, and it just gives us the exact data what we have it in our system. That is what context is. And in four, adaptability, it will think what really happens. Maybe there could be a possible policy change in the company recently, and the agent should be aware of it. So this is where context comes. And reflection and memory. So it thinks about the previous interactions, the previous feedbacks, and gives us the perfect response. So a quick recap before we move on on this agent key principle is that let's think of the agent, and planning is what the agent tries to do. Tool, tools is what it how it actually does the stuff, and context is where it stays accurate, and adaptability is where it stays aware. Reflection and memory is where it gets better. So to put these five together, it reasons, acts, checks itself, and improves. Next, let's move on to the types of agents available in the UiPath platform. So there are four types of agents, and it is worth knowing all these four because you'll pick any one up in many of the situations. So first one is system agents. These come predefinedly packed with the UiPath, the one you would use it every day, autopilot and healing agent. Autopilot is available in your studio desktop, in your studio web, and you can just explain your process in natural language, and it will cook up the exact flow as it required, right up in front of your screen, either the studio desktop or the studio web, and you can build agentic process over there as well. And the second one is the healing agent. So if you have worked with selectors and you know how selectors work, there are many possibilities that a selector can break while it runs in the production. So there are most uncertain conditions wherein selector can break, and this way the hailing agent comes as a savior to us. So these are the two agents which comes pre-installed with the UiPath. And the second one is the UiPath built agents. So how you look at the studio desktop, you used to build the RPA process. The similar UI interface is available in the studio web where you can build your agents in the agent designer. A very low code platform, you don't need to be a heavy coder, and this will be your go to option if you want to get an agent up and run quickly with a visual drag and drop interface. The third one is coded agents. If you're a hard coder and you want to build your custom following your own rules and all those stuff. Coded agents with the help of UiPath SDK is available in your own ID, your custom logic, and all these stuffs. Number four is the external agents. So remember the example we spoke before, the checking the order history, checking the user receipt history, and all those stuffs. So in order to connect to the third party application, we use connectors. But what if the third party application has an agent all built in already, and you just have to orchestrate those output to your RPA process or your agent process? That's where Maestro comes in, and you can connect any kind of agents from any third party application into your RPA, into your agentic automation process. So that's what external agents are. So together, all four types run on the same platform, same governance, same security, and orchestration through UiPath Maestro. So when an agent took 5 months to switch on or custom coded by a developer for weeks, and it plays the same enterprise rules once it's on the platform. So remember what we have discussed on the initial slide regarding the three questions. So what is agentic automation? How is it different from RPA? And what are the types of agents? And I hope you have got the answer for all of this. And let me give you a recap on that. What is agentic automation? It is code-driven automation powered by AI agents that reason and does not follow steps. How it is different from RPA? RPA is the left brain, fixed, structure, and rule-based, where agentic is the right brain, adaptive, creative, judgment-based, and these two work together. And the final one, what are the types of agents? There are system agents, UiPath build agents, coded agents, and external agents, all governed in the same. So we can now move on to the next step, the part two of a session where we get hands-on about what an agent actually is in the UiPath web and how to build one yourself. Over to Madhuri.
Hey everyone, thanks Deepika for covering those topics. Now what I'll cover is, I'll cover the intro on how do we build an agent, some basic building blocks of an agent when we are building the agent, then the space where we create the agent or build the agent, and I'll show you or run the demo right in front of the screen. So let's start with how do we build an agent. Let me tell you a story about how we onboard an employee. Suppose I am onboarding an employee in my company, and before assigning the actual project to that employee, what I need to say to him, like I have to assign a role to him, right? So let's take an example. His role is a customer support executive role. Now, what are his roles and responsibilities? Generally, the customer support executive does process the queries of the end customers and gives the resolution steps to the customers. These are the roles and responsibilities of a customer support executive employee. Then comes the input. What is the input of the customer support executive? That customer query, maybe the customer query is in the form of an email or or a customer can create a ticket or any form of it. Let's say the input is in the format of an email template. Now, what is the output? The customer support executive will resolve the query of the customer, or will find some resolution steps, and he will be replying back to the customer with some resolution steps as a reply email. That comes the output. Now, if we directly assign some ticket to the customer support executive employee, does he actually does it? No, right? So we need to train him with some previous tickets or with some previous data. We need to flood him with the FAQ documents or previous tickets, incidents which his team has been worked on, so that he can learn upon the previous data and train himself, and he can give the resolution steps to the customer upon the new tickets. Now, that is the term called knowledge context. Let's say we have given a deadline to that employee of 24 hours, and we are expecting a success rate of 90% from our customer support executive employee. That is nothing but a quality measure that we do for that employee. I'm saying about the example of a customer support executive. Let's think this customer support executive as an agent. Now, what is the role of a customer support executive agent? It is a customer support executive agent. Now, the roles and responsibilities will be the same. It has to process the queries of the customer and provide the output to the end customer. Now, what is the input? As I said, it is an email. Now, what is the output of the agent? It has to be the reply email with resolution steps to the customer. Now, we are giving the agent with some previous data through indexes in the UiPath through context grounding. That is nothing but knowledge context here. Then we are defining the scorecard of an agent. Generally, 70 to 80% of the scorecard is set as a good agent, and this scorecard generally comes from the prompts that we give, the tools that we use, etc. So this is exactly that I wanted to say about the left side of the slide, which is an agentic side. So agentic side is a role, the brain it thinks. Okay, now do you think only the brain alone does all the work? No, right? It needs the hands to do it. That comes the right side of the slide, which is the tools, the robotic side. So the tools are nothing but any external agents or any external RPA workflow, a built-in workflow, an activity, or connectors in the integration service that we give to an agent to support is nothing but the tools, the hands that it is using. So in single line, we can say an agent is the brain that thinks, and the tools are the hands that do. So this is the motive of this. How do we build an agent? Together, agentic and tools will build an agent. Okay, now let's see about this, some basic building blocks of an agent. So the important point here is prompts. Generally, prompts are nothing but the instructions that we give an agent or an AI model to run, right? Here, basically, there are two types of prompts. One is system prompt and other is user prompt. When we go back to an example of an employee, there we are giving the employee with some task, right? So, and in the day one or the first day of his training, we are seeing him his roles and responsibilities and how to tackle that incident and what he needs to do on the regular basis on the day one of the training or day one of the project allocation. But we are not saying him every day what he has to do. We are not repeating the same thing to him. So system prompts are the same thing. We only give the instructions once, and the agent does that instructions in the entire life cycle of an agent. So generally, system prompts include roles, goals, rules and constraints, the context grounding, outputs, input, and a few examples on how the output should look or how the output should be given to the end customer or an end user. Now, let me differentiate the system prompt with the user prompt. Let me also go back to the same example of an employee. Before assigning an actual ticket to that employee, or let's say we are assigning a ticket to that employee. Now, the ticket doesn't repeat the whole training manual. It gives just the specific details in the task, right? Like what are the tasks that he has to do. Suppose there are two types of tickets that are submitted by the two different customers to the employee, customer support agent, let's say. Now, the sensitive information of the employee, like email address, order number, ticket number, will be differing in both the tickets because same customer is not creating the tickets. Different customers are creating the tickets. This is exactly the data which is unique for the customers is the labels here. So we are invoking these labels in our user prompt. So the same prompt will be working for entire life cycle of our agent, but here the invoking of the labels uniquely will be unique for every input. Now, so one thing here is system prompt is nothing but the training manual we give once. As a training manual, we are giving to the employee once, and he is working for the entire life cycle. The same goes with the agent. Now the user prompt is nothing but the ticket we assign the agent, or ticket that we give to the customer support employee, and he does his work for every ticket, not the usual tickets. So the only thing here is label differentiate between the user prompt and the system prompt. Now, let me go with some of the other building blocks of the agent. These are the few building blocks of an agent that we generally include while building of an agent. So guardrails are nothing but quality checks or safety measures. Suppose there is an input and output of an agent, right? So instead of bypassing that sensitive information from that input and output of an agent, we can boycott that using the guardrails. So with guardrails, we can stop the sensitive information exposure to the end users. So that we can do using a guardrails invocation in our agent or from the orchestrator tenant level. Now the tools are nothing but the hands that we provide for an agent to think, right? So tools can be anything. As I said, it may be a connector from the integration service, or it may be an activity, it may be an external workflow, or the workflow that we built in a Studio Web itself. Those are the tools. Let's go with the context. Contexts are nothing but in the previous example, I said we are training the model with the previous data. We are training that through the context, through indexing. That is nothing but context grounding, where we provide some sort of PDFs or some JPG files, PNG files, or any sort of JSON files, etc., from where the agent get the information that will be useful for an agent and can provide the output. Now, let's see what is an escalations. Escalations are nothing but when an agent is not producing an output, or it may be stuck, or it is not able to generate an output for an input, then the human in the loop concept comes here. We will assign that input to the human in the action center. Then the human completes the task in the action center, and after completing that task, the agent runs and provide the output for that input. Now evaluations are simply the test cases that we provide to an agent to get the idea of on what the output the agent is working, and on how much success rate the agent is working. Like, we'll give the input and expected output in the beforehand. And the agent score, as I said, a good agent can be mapped with 70 to 80%, and this scorecard will be purely based upon the prompts, the tools, and all other building blocks of an agent. So these are some of the building blocks of an agent. Now let's see what is an agent builder. So I was saying about this agents, building blocks, where we can see this agent, building blocks, and all this context that I'm providing here. We can see in this space called agent builder. So agent builder is a space where we build, evaluate, and publish our agents. So these terms that I'm using are not abstract. They are the life that we can see in the agent builder space. Okay, let me show you a live demo. One thing here is I'm not going to build the agent here. I'm just going to run the agent, because we are going to learn how to build an agent from the scratch step by step in our next sessions. Session 2 and session 3 will be giving a hands-on session on how do we build an agent from the scratch. and we are going to learn with the real world examples. So please make sure to join in the session 2 and session 3 as well. So as I said, I'll run the agent. Let me run the agent. Before that, I'll tell you the problem statement. Now the problem statement of the demo that I'm showing here is, suppose generally people overlook the emails in their mailbox, right? So in the perspective of student, the important email for the student is the job updates where they will apply, right? Now suppose, let's say the student is overseeing the emails, he couldn't catch up all the job update emails. Then our agent will get those emails, extract the information from that email, and provide the output to the end user in the help of a call and a text message that we have integrated using a Twilio. Okay, now the input here is an email from a student mailbox, and the output here is a text message and a call from our agent. Clear? Now let me run the agent. Okay, before clicking on continue, I'll just say about this individual task. So this is the get newest email from the mailbox. This is a workflow that I've built in the Studio Web itself that will fetch the emails from the mailbox. And this is a decision where if the email contains, it goes to this flow, and if the email doesn't contain, it goes to this flow. If the email contains, this is where exactly our agent lies. It will extract the information from the mailbox and it will send the updates to the or notifications to the user. If it doesn't contain, it will send and no emails notification to the user. Now let me continue this. I'll get a call in a minute. We'll just on that. I lift the call.
You can remove this must pay. Job update. Junior software developer at Technova Solutions. Deadline is August 15th, 2026. Apply soon.
I believe you have heard the call, right? And I got a text message also from the Twilio. Okay, generally what does the call is saying? It is saying job updates to the students, and it is providing the what is the company name and what is the application deadline that he has to apply. This is what this demo does. But as I said, you are going to learn all this in our next sessions, in our session 2 and session 3, and that will be very amazing because our speakers will let you know how to build the agents from the scratch. Okay, any Q&A? Let's take Q&A now. Suhani, can I stop the sharing?
No. Now we can take the question.
Okay.
Okay, so if anyone have any question, let's raise the hand. Okay, so we have a question.
Yes, so we have a question from Sonali. Could you please explain the difference between tool and context once again? So Sonali, tools are where we use the integration service connectors, like the third-party applications we use to connect. Those are the tools, or we can say tools as the RPA automations we built as well. And the context is where we give the knowledge to the agent. What kind of what is the ground level reality, and what on based on what context, what knowledge it should respond for the question we have prompted. So this is the difference between tool and context. I hope that clears your question. So the next question we have is from Venkatesh. Can you please show the prompt and extract email agent? I think Madhuri, you can answer this.
Uh, can you please show the prompt in the extract email agent? Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. This is a system prompt that we have provided to the agent. We are defining clearly here what are the fields that it has to extract from the email and the rules and the output JSON that it has to provide from that email. The extracted values will be getting in a form of JSON. And the user prompts, as I said, these are the labels. The unique labels in that email will be the email subject and email body, right? So that we have passed as a or invoked as a reference here as an arguments.
Okay, so the next question, why can't this automation be done using RP, and why there's a need to do this automation using agent? So basically, this is the only a use case, and so basically, previously we are having some logic so to decide, and here in this, with the help of the agents, what we can do, we can let agent decide based on the condition. So we have to give the condition based on the in our natural language, and then agent can decide based on the where agent need to create a action task or not, and or a user review task. If not, this there's no required of that, agent can process that. So that is why we need the agent here. Before that, we are using conditions, so many conditions. So here we can write the condition the agent in our natural language, and agent can process that. And then we have a question for, do we need enterprise license for doing hands-on? So in community version, we can do that, but we have the AI units. So keep, keep track of that AI units, how much AI units your agent is using, and what are the prerequisite to start learning agentic AI. So to learn the AI, agentic AI, you should have the basic understanding of LLM. Then you can start. So you should know how the LLMs are working behind the scene, and then you can start with you writing your system prompt and the user prompt. So you should have the basic understanding of how we can write the system prompt and the user prompt. Sonali, you are asking something? Sonali, you can unmute yourself and speak. Okay, so the question from the R. So how is the call going? Can you please show us? So Madhuri, can you explain how the call you get? I think you are using any software, right?
Oh, it's a Twilio from the integration
Okay.
service connector.
Yeah. And then suppose there are multiple emails and agent can read multiple emails. In that case, there will be the multiple call or messages, or there will be a single call with all emails. So our agent will read the email one by one. We cannot read the bulk of email. So as the email service or integration email service or Microsoft 365 is working in our RPA, the same like the agent will work. It cannot be like bulk of email can read and bulk of email can be processed at a single time. Then we have a question from Kavita Chawla. So do we need to follow any step while giving prompt like description rules? So yes, we have some steps. So basically, you have to define what in the system prompt you have to define what our agent is going to do and what will be the output. And in the user prompt, you have to provide the agent that what are the inputs agent have, and then it can work. Then from Sapna Soni, in term of cost and benefit, which is more beneficial, RPA versus agent? So agent will take less time to process anything than RPA. So it will be the cost efficient in the term of time. And the benefit of agent, so agent can think and agent can take decision. So benefits of the agents are this, and it's the next question. So will the maestro process shown today will be explained in next session, and you please share the code. Okay, so on the process we have shown today, it, we will be explaining a different process in a detailed way. So this will not be the same process we are going to explain. For the code, we can share the link. Okay, Sonali Vajpayee. So for the output of the agent, you can take the output in the format of JSON, in the format of text, but you have to deserialize the output and then you can utilize if you are using the JSON output. Then Venkatesh, can we build agents in Studio Desktop or only in Web Studio? So agent can be built only in Studio Desktop, but we can use the agent in the Studio Desktop. Okay. Next question, Priyadarshini. So need more insight on system and user prompt. Will it happen in the next session? So yes. So we will be giving more information on the system prompt and user prompt in the next session. Can you help me with the integration service you mentioned of calling? I was unable to find. So it is the Trio she is using. So you can find, yeah. So you can find it out, and if you are not able to find, just go and search about it, and you can get it. Okay, do we have any other question, or anyone wants to have a question?